You are now experiencing Less Than Fresh, a movie podcast. Less Than Fresh is a free-form discussion of movies and other related media, so it should be assumed there are potential spoilers hiding around every corner. Consider this your official spoiler warning. This podcast is rated not safe for work and contains mild cursing. So, if you're uncomfortable with that, then you can go yourself in the and then get the out of here. This podcast is designed to be taken auditorily or optically. If you've somehow ingested it orally or rectally, please induce vomiting immediately. Now, on with the show.
2 minutes in, and we've already got a rectal insertion joke. I've got a podcast that I am afraid to show my mother.
You're the one that brought it up, so that's all on you. I claim complete innocence.
You're not completely innocent. Maybe of this, but you're not completely innocent, buddy. I know you too well for that. I've got dirt on you. I've got video. I've got pictures.
Lies, all lies.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Less Than Fresh podcast. Less Than Fresh, a movie podcast, is officially what it's called. I am Jasper, aka Jasper Disaster, aka the Master of Disaster, and this spelled gentleman to my that way is Cassidy. So, Sea Dog, my brother from another mother. How's it going?
All right. Been better, been worse. Having some allergy problems. You can kind of see how my eyes all puffy, but other than that, pretty good.
I don't know. You always look pretty terrible to me.
Well, because you have bad eyesight. That's why you wear glasses.
Yeah.
See, if you have good eyesight, you tell how handsome I am. So,
touche, sir. Way to turn it back around on me.
Do my best.
So, I've got this somewhat organized into different segments. And so the first segment is just, basically BS time, just, to catch up and just chat about whatever. And you'll never guess what I came up with as a name for this segment. It may stick, it may not stick, but for this one episode, we're going to call it this.
Okay. What is it?
You remember the movie The Candidate with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis?
I remember it existed. I haven't actually seen that one.
Oh my goodness. Okay, great. So I don't have to make up an excuse to explain this to the audience then. There's this one scene where Zach Galifianakis' handler comes in and he's drunk and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? I come in here and I catch you, what, playing hee-haw with the fuck around gang?" So that's what this segment is called. Playing hee-haw with the fuck around gang. Yeah. As we're talking, I'll see if I can locate the clip and it'll make more sense. I am not saying that you'll like it any better, but it'll make more sense.
Don't think that one's going to stick if I have anything to say.
Let me bring it up here in the old 3 box. I'm still trying to learn the software. This episode brought to you by StreamYard because we're too cheap to pay to have the logo removed.
We're not too cheap. We're too broke. There's a difference.
There is a difference, yes. Yeah.
Now,
so, between willingness and ability.
But I guess I should rephrase that. You're not too cheap. You're just too broke. I, on the other hand, if it was up to me, am just too cheap. I'll be honest.
But I've got the clip.
You are my girl, and you got me wanting you.
What the the fuck is going on in here? You kids go upstairs, wash your filthy faces, and get to bed. Hurry up!
Marty, are you going to let him talk to our children that way?
Missy, I know you're Marty's wife, but I swear to Christ, you get out of this room before I lose my shit.
Marty!
Now, Mr. Watley.
Marty, I need you kicking Cam's balls in on a daily basis. And I come here and find you playing hee-haw with the fuck-around gang.
Oh, he's drunk. You're drunk.
Yeah, I'm a little lit. So what?
So that's like, to me, that's like the funniest line in the whole movie is playing
Not
hee-haw.
surprised.
What is that because you feel that it's a good line too, or just knowing me as long as you have, you feel like I don't know. I'm asking the question. I don't want to hear this answer.
Less that as more of I'm not a huge fan of Will Ferrell or Zach Galifianakis comedies, so it doesn't surprise me that that would be the funniest line in one of their comedies.
Okay, good. So it's not a slight at me. It's Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, don't get me wrong, I love Will Ferrell as a dramatic actor. He is phenomenal in Everything Must Go. And even in Stranger Than Fiction, which is a comedy, but he plays it more straight than his usual over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Galifianakis, I really dig when he's in a supporting role. But generally when he tends to get more of a lead role, and not always, because like Hangover, but when he's in a lead role, I just don't find him that funny. The Hangover was what I was saying. It's like, yeah, I usually like him as a supporting role, which I will grant Hangover was funnier than I thought it was going to be, but still not really my type of comedy. So,
Did you ever see that series where Zach Galifianakis plays a sad clown?
no, I don't believe I have.
It was, I want to say, an HBO series, and so he went to France to study clowning and came back with a French wife who hates him, and it's basically a green card marriage. And then as he becomes like a Pagliacci type sad clown, and the only job he can get is in a rodeo. So he's a rodeo clown trying to do this Pagliacci stuff. You know, you always have this thing that you say about if you don't like a comedic actor, you like them as a dramatic actor.
Yeah, I was actually on my phone while you were doing that, trying to look it up. Now, I am addicted to...
Your phone, I know.
Well, I was going to say IMDb. So if I have a question about a movie, I will. Cell phones are the worst because smartphones make me have access to stuff like that.
In the first episode of Burn Notice, he says, you should fight your battles with duct tape and not guns. Guns make you stupid. Duct tape makes you smart. I feel like there should be some correlation between smartphones and like fight your battles with blank, not smartphones. Blank makes you smart. Smartphones make you dumb.
Well, yeah, I'll totally acknowledge that because I don't know. There were things I used to do before I had a smartphone that now I rely on my smartphone to do for me. So,
yeah, I don't want this to become a couple of old guys going back in my day, but remember when we used to have to remember phone numbers? I haven't memorized a phone number in 20 years.
Hell, I forgot. The only phone number I have memorized is my own from giving it out to other people or having to use it as a login thing, a user ID.
I had a tough time with that. With even that, I had the same phone number for so many years. When I finally got a different phone number, it took me forever to retrain my brain that number one, that's not my number anymore. Number two, what the hell my actual phone number is now. Just to throw it out there, because I kind of set a lot of this up ahead of time. We needed a name for this pilot episode, and I wasn't going to call it episode 1 Phantom Menace.
You mean episode 1, the worst Star Wars movie ever? Wasn't that what it was called?
Let's watch the Red Letter Media video series, which was actually like 10 minutes longer than the actual movie itself.
Yeah, episode 1, the worst Star Wars movie, even though The Rise of Skywalker does give it a run for its money, but it loses out just barely.
Oh, come on.
But it was, I gotta say, I'm a Star Wars fan, and there were things about it I enjoyed, but there was a lot that was done really, really wrong about that movie. Not
Which
as wrong
one?
as
Rise of Skywalker? Okay.
Yeah, right.
So
I was like,
a lot of things done wrong with Rise of Skywalker.
yes. Like I said, it's pretty close to being bad as Phantom Menace, but I still feel like Phantom Menace is the worst.
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's definitely not one of the best Star Wars movies,
Sure.
but it seems painful to compare it to Phantom Menace because I feel like I got such a bait and switch from that movie that was hyped to the heavens, and then it did not deliver in any way.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what happens when you give in 100% to the fanboys and try to give them everything they want.
That's what happens when you give in 100% to George Lucas. You surround him with yes men and let him get away with submitting his first draft.
Are we talking about Phantom Menace or are we talking about Rise of Skywalker? Because I got a little confused. I thought you were talking about Rise of Skywalker.
No, I was talking about the bait and switch that I got from Phantom Menace, and the buyer's remorse always stuck with me, and so it seemed like a worse movie than any of them.
Well, okay. It wasn't even buyer's remorse. I just thought that there was bad storytelling. I kind of felt like the whole prequels were all bad storytelling, and that was my biggest problem with it.
Right, and I refer you back to my previous statement about George Lucas submitting his first draft, and everybody being saying, "Hey, it looks good. Let's film it."
I mean, it took me.
I don't know why they all sounded like Barney Rubble.
I was gonna say it took me a few years, a good close to 20, but I finally acknowledged there were some good things about it. There were some good designs, and there was characters that had potential that another draft or two would have really brought them out.
Mm-hmm. That's good. You have growth over time. This is that maturity thing that I keep hearing about.
But it is still, I feel, the worst Star Wars movie. I always remember when it came out, my friend got a advanced preview ticket, and then the day of the movie, he got really, really sick and couldn't go. So he gave it to me so I could go because I didn't get a chance to get the tickets. They were out before I had a chance. And I remember before he's like, "No, remember, you owe me." And then I went and saw that movie and I came back and I said, No. You owe me. I suffered through this. I would have traded places with you. I'd rather have been sick than have watched this movie. So,
I would rather be physically ill than be mentally ill, which is what I am now.
Yeah. I guess I kind of understand the bait and switch, but it was less about how hyped up that movie was as how much I loved the first 3 movies, specifically 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. That I was, I had my expectations of great storytelling. Right. And then I got that. So, anyway, so we've kind of sidetracked, which,
right, I was
get used to that. What were you saying that? So, what were you going to name it? What are we naming this?
Okay, so I named it. You did it, you crazy son of a bitch! You did it.
Jurassic Park.
Yep.
Okay, for all honesty, I'm gonna come clean here. I didn't guess that. We'd actually talked about this a little bit before we started. I knew it was familiar, but for the life of me, I could not remember what it was from. And he told me. So
That's very gentlemanly of you. I was gonna play along. I was gonna yes and my way through that, and
well, I appreciate
let
that.
everybody think that you got that the first try.
Well, trust me, I'll make enough quotes every once in a while. I just got to show that yes, even I'm not perfect. Damn near close, but not perfect.
Shall we get into the actual topics?
Yeah, because I'm sure nobody really wants to listen to us just BS all the time.
I mean, if they do, we can start a second podcast for that. But that's
True.
yeah, that's not really what this is designed to do here. We're going to talk about Sony Pictures' purchase of Alamo Drafthouse. So this is real. This is real. This is happening. This is another indication that we live in the worst timeline. Sony Pictures purchased Alamo's Drafthouse. So to give people some context, Alamo Drafthouse is really I would say the originator. If there's some incarnation of this that came earlier, I'm sure people in the comments section will correct me. But Alamo Drafthouse was the original incarnation of the view and brew concept. The idea that you could order beers and order real food, not just popcorn and hot dogs, and have it there as a meal to eat while you were watching the movie. And then it got to the point where people figured out, what was required to imitate that, and then there were a lot of imitators and pretenders to the throne. And I mean, this hits different than just any old news story for me, because I lived in Austin for 15 years. You spent some time there as well, and so we've seen movies at the Drafthouse. I don't know if you've seen any at the Village, the original Drafthouse location, but I've seen movies at the Drafthouse Village.
I'm not really sure.
I had friends who were in the Rocky Horror Shadow cast, which performed at the Alamo Drafthouse Village. So a lot of history there for me.
I went to a live Rocky Horror thing once, but I don't remember where it was at.
Okay.
I don't know. There was 2 different Drafthouse that I had went to. I was there. There was one that I would usually go to, which was closer to where I lived, and then I went to the when we went to go see Anna the Apocalypse.
Right. That was an awesome location. That one I wish I had gone and seen more movies at. I got a couple of stories to tell. So we actually got permission to shoot a sketch inside the Drafthouse Village, because they had all of those things that those clips that they would show before movies of no cell phone, no talking. And so I had written a sketch for that, and my friend Jacob like it's amazing how he put this together. Like I pitched him the idea. I wasn't even pitching him the idea, really. I was just BSing about this idea I had. And the next day, or 2 days later, we're in the Drafthouse Village filming. And so it was me and my friend Summer appearing in it, and it was about this guy who was way too into vampire movies, and how he was weirding the girl out that he was sitting next to. And so and it was about if somebody's being weird, call an usher. And we submitted it to the Drafthouse, and we never heard anything back. We don't know if they ever used it, but so probably not. But it was still cool that we were whatever Jacob did I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Whatever he did, to pull those strings so that we could get in there and film, that was pretty cool. And then I have another story about the Draft House, and specifically the Draft House Village, because there was a point in my life where I was doing online dating, and I met this young woman, and we talked about going and seeing a movie together. And she's like, okay, well, I want to go see the second Fantastic Four movie. And I was like, okay. And she's like, that's playing at the Draft House Village. I'm like, okay. So I looked up movie times, and we talked about when we were going to go, and we were going to meet up there. And so that day I went, and I sent her, we had been communicating back and forth via email. And so I get to the village, and so it's close to the movie start time. You know how close I show up to the beginning of movies.
10 minutes after they start.
Yeah, but this was a date, so I showed up on time. And so I just went into the box office and bought 2 tickets because it was kind of, close to the start time. Now, what I need to explain to all the children out there is that this was an era when you couldn't get access to the internet through your phone readily. You had to jump through some hoops, and you had to have a special type of phone. And Grandpa was rocking a Motorola Razr at the time. So he was pretty cool, and he had the hookup. So, after time went by and it got to the start time of the movie and past the start time of the movie, I check my phone. I finally get, the 3G band or whatever it was. It was probably 2G. It was probably Edge Network. To finally connect me to my email. I saw that after I had left the house and before the movie started, she got cold feet and sent me an email saying I'm not going to show up. So I'm already there. So I went in and ordered myself a pizza and watched the crappy sequel movie to the crappy movie that I hadn't seen. And to this day, I'm somewhat bitter about that, because I not only paid to see the Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, I paid twice as much as everybody else in that theater to see it.
Yeah. Similar situation for me with The Force Awakens. Had a date that stood me up after I got the tickets and everything. So that was fun. It was even I'd actually talked to her in person and asked her to do this. And she was all for it. And then she stood me up. And it's like the next time I saw her, she kind of ignored me. And I was just like, wow, you could have at least said something about like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm just decided I really wasn't interested. You didn't have to be such a about it.
Yeah. I mean, at least my date said, I've decided I'm not showing up. Did message me before the beginning of the movie. I just didn't see it until after I'd already bought the tickets. And so, I'd like to say, if you're watching, we would have probably had a lovely time. And, quite honestly, you were missing out on all of this. So, I mean, so you're lost, babe. Don't roll your eyes at that.
I was just going to simply say it was your loss too. You actually had to watch that movie.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, just real quick while we're on that subject, I do want to say I thought they did a really good job of casting. It's just sad that it got wasted on not having anything to work with. Wait, at least for Johnny Storm and The Thing. Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans, I think, were really well suited for the parts they played.
Yeah.
Jessica Alba.
No,
Well,
no.
I'm not that familiar with the characters.
I've
I
never
know
seen
that was
anything.
Mermaid.
I've never seen Jessica Alba do anything that I would call acting. Full stop. End of statement.
I can't argue with that, really.
So, but talking about the acquisition of the Draft House, like when I heard that Sony Pictures was the one buying the Draft House, I thought, okay, good. This is in safe hands. Sony Pictures is very good about taking properties that people are very sensitive about and treating them with respect. And so I'm sure that what's going to happen is that they're going to do nothing with it for a long, long time. Then they're going to give it to Paul Feig and let him do whatever he wants with it. And then when people don't like what he did with it, then go back and reboot the Draft House properly with respect, as they should have done the first time. And by then it's going to be pretty much too little too late, and maybe they'll throw Paul Rudd in there.
Well, hey, everybody loves Paul Rudd. Can't
Yeah.
go-
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Can do no wrong. Absolutely.
And for the
Like,
record,
there should be a movie. There should be a movie where it has Paul Rudd and Ryan Reynolds. Like can do no wrong and can do no wrong. It doesn't even have to have a script. I don't care what it's about. Shut up and take my money.
pretty much it. I mean, I always said, at least with Ryan Reynolds, that you could tell me the movie is nothing but an hour of him picking his nose, and I'd still watch it. I may not go to the theater and pay money for it, but I am going to watch that movie because it has Ryan Reynolds in it. And yes,
Right.
I've seen a lot of commentary about how Ryan Reynolds kind of plays the same character in everything now because he's less an actor and more a brand. But
Mhm.
and I can't really argue with that. But I like the brand. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, he does one thing, but you like the one thing he does, so it's okay.
just for the record, real quick, I looked it up on Google Maps, and yeah, the Village was the one that I went to. So that's the one I'm most familiar with. Honestly, I didn't go there too often because they were a little bit further away and they were a little bit more expensive than some of the other theaters. So it had to be a movie that I really wanted to see that was only available there to see it, or if I felt like treating myself.
Yeah. It's ironic because, you would think having so much merch that they could, like literal merch, like t-shirts and stuff, but then also the food items that you could buy, you would think they would like lower the ticket prices as a loss leader to get you in the door to buy all the other stuff. But yeah, even the ticket prices were a little bit more expensive than everybody else.
But then there was another Alamo Draft House. It was Lakeline. It was one of the newer ones that got put in when I moved up to Cedar Park. And I went there a lot because it was close. That was the one that I went to the most because it was.
And then when Draft House moved out of that and became a dollar theater.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Wow. They still have those anymore?
Probably not.
Okay.
They don't have nickel coffee or 25-cent Coca-Cola grandpa.
Well, they haven't. A dollar theater hasn't been a dollar for a very long time. Technically, you should call them second run theaters, but I haven't seen those in forever either. I still just call it a dollar theater because that was what they used to be called back when we were teenagers.
So, real quick, I want to close out this topic and move on to the next one. So, you haven't actually said anything about the purchase of the Draft House by Sony, John.
I don't have the emotional attachment you have to the Alamo.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I do believe I actually went to one of their competitors first before I ever went to one of theirs. So I wasn't. I mean, I kind of knew
Jacques
they were the original.
Juice!
Hey, I moved from the middle of nowhere, Kansas, down to Austin, so it was kind of a whole new thing for me. They just had gotten one up in Wichita that was like that.
Yeah, I can see how for somebody in Wichita that would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, but it does worry me a little bit because I don't know how to articulate this right. Back before they broke things up during the studio system, that was actually considered a monopoly, the fact of the studios owning the theaters. And while, it feels like a step backwards. I mean, we already have enough problems with the studio shoveling crap off on everybody, which I admit I eat a lot of that crap too. But, I mean, to me, it's just like when they start dominating where you can see a movie, it's going to narrow what you can see even more. So.
Right. Yeah. And so not one of our topics, but just to touch on that, there was somebody, I forget who it was. I think it was Adam from Adam Ruins Everything. Adam Conover. Yeah. I wanted to say Adam Carolla, and then I wanted to say Adam Savage. I was going through every Adam from the Bible. Adam Conover. He was talking about how streaming services make things worse. Adam Ruins Everything has been long since canceled, and he's now on YouTube. So if you want Adam Ruins Everything style content from the man himself, that's where to get it. But he was talking about how streaming services make things worse, and as an example, he was talking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, how it was supposed to be a theatrical release, and then in order to save money, they scaled back the budget and just threw it on their streaming service
and turned it into a miniseries.
Yeah, right, and made it way worse than it would have been as a movie, as a theatrical movie with an actual budget. Yeah, but the thing is, as a service, they already have your money. It doesn't really matter. They have to deliver you something, otherwise they're in breach of contract. But it doesn't matter what they give you or what quality of product it is, just so long as they give you something, and they've already got your money. Yeah. That used to be the argument about McDonald's, about like how you have the pay window and then you have the window where you pick up the food. It doesn't matter if your order's wrong; they've already got your money.
It's kind of all fast food in general, but I actually enjoyed the Obi-Wan miniseries. And
I didn't see it.
I can honestly say, I mean, I can see it, but at the same time, you get like, we'll stick with Disney, and since they own Lucasfilm and they own Marvel both, you get stuff like the Eternals from Marvel that should have been a Disney Plus series because they tried to cram too much into such a short format. There are some things that are better situated for a long format like a mini series. And I think I haven't watched everything yet, but I do believe that some of it, like I actually kind of felt like Obi-Wan wouldn't have worked as a movie. I think it worked better as a miniseries because they were able to draw out the story a little bit more. But of course, you get your opposite. Then there's like Andor, the Rogue One prequel, all about Cassian Andor, which I enjoyed, but it took me a long time to get through it because they went very slow burn with it. Like
that was a miniseries.
Yeah, it's from what I understand, there's supposed to be a whole second season of it, which is good
Oh.
because almost nothing happened in the first season. So to get him, this is supposed to be getting him to where he was in Rogue One. And it was just like, I don't know, the first couple of episodes were just intriguing enough to me to keep, but I'm also a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
But it just felt really slow paced. Like it didn't really feel like anything was really happening until you got to, there was 12 episodes. And I think it was probably about episode 9 before I really felt like anything interesting was really starting to happen.
Ouch. That's
And, yeah,
that's like a Soylent Green type of slow burn.
like I seriously considered not finishing it because it was, and you know how I am completist. Like,
Yeah.
once I start something, I kind of got to finish it. But it was actually slow enough where
Maybe you would have done it if they'd given you an Xbox achievement at the end.
might have. Well, what did it say? It's a 12 like 40-minute episode series, and it took. And you know how I binge watch, and it took me a good 6 months to get through it.
Ouch.
Yeah, because I would
Oh.
like I'd watch one episode and then walk away for several weeks with no real urge to get back, and then it was like sit down and watch something. I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and give it another shot.
That's like oh god, that's like you gotta take your medicine.
Yeah, I will say the last couple episodes got interesting enough that if they do another season, I will probably give it another shot. But I just
Yeah, but if it turns out to be that same kind of slow burn, like they reeled you in last couple of episodes, but did they get you good enough that you're going to give it a
if
give
it's
it an episode or a couple of episodes, or are you in for the long haul for the whole
I
ride?
will give it a couple episodes. If it's another really bad slow burn like that, I might walk away. Because I'll be honest, I really enjoyed Rogue One, but the character
I did too.
The character of Cassian Andor never really gripped me that much. So honestly, I went into this not really caring that much. It was more of my loyalty to the Star Wars brand than it was to really care about that character. And I guess I just kind of stuck with it because he starts out kind of an asshole. Well, I mean, I guess he was an asshole in the movie too, but he was an asshole with a purpose. And he starts out kind of against, not exactly against, but more like I'm out for myself and I don't care about anything that's going on. And not in the Han Solo of I really do care, but I'm trying to protect myself way. As in, I really don't care about this other stuff until it starts affecting me. And I was kind of curious to see how they were going to slowly get him to be this diehard rebel. And then, you know, some of the, like Fiona Shaw and Stellan Skarsgård have cameo parts in it. So it was always kind of interesting. You know, really, you get really good actors. It's like, okay, I'll kind of give it a shot. But I don't know. Like I said, I'll give the next season a little bit of a shot. But if it gets really boring, then. But yeah, I'm just saying, you know, sometimes it is a good idea that they, you know, when you brought up, I know we're kind of off topic here, but you know, I think switching some of the stuff from movies, like if you have too much of a story, moving it to a series is better. I mean, there's been a lot of things that I've thought about I would love to adapt in my filmmaking things. I don't know if I'll ever get the rights to them, or sure as I'll probably never get the budget. But there's like that where I flat looked at it and I said, like, yeah, I could make movies out of this, but there's so much going on in this book that you lose so much of what's going on because you have to trim to fit in it because nobody really wants, except for diehard cinephiles like myself, really want to sit for the 6 hours to watch a movie. You know, not everybody
Yeah.
wants to do the 12-hour marathon of the Lord of the Rings trilogy extended versions. Trust me, I know. I tried to get it organized to do it. Nobody showed up. People showed up. They just all left early, except for you. I will grant you were going to hold out, but by the time everything else fell apart that night, I was too damn tired to do it myself.
Oh, God.
But I will do it one of these days. To get back to the original thing, I just worry about what kind of crap Sony is going to try to. And Sony doesn't exactly have the best track record of movies. The only thing I can say in their defense is at least they're not David Zaslav. Warner Brothers.
Oh, okay.
The way he's running things, even when there's movies I want to see, I feel bad about supporting Warner Brothers because of the way he runs things. So.
There was a Batgirl movie in production, and it got canceled before it completed production. And I remember seeing a meme on Facebook where somebody posted saying, "Congratulations to Batgirl being the most profitable Warner Brothers movie this year."
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is as I understand it, it wasn't done. I mean, it was done with production. It was canceled during post-production.
Oh, well,
so
still.
It was almost, and then you get like Wile E. Coyote versus Acme, the Looney Tunes movie that was almost ready to be released. I mean, it was literally right there. It had gone through test audiences, did wonderful with it, and then they canceled it for their that same crap. We're going to shelve this forever so that we can take a tax write-off, even though it was proven that it would have been a profitable movie.
Oh,
and then there was the big.
Okay. Hold on a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to take a second to lose my shit. Because
excuse me.
I don't follow the industry close enough to know that was ever a thing. And then you dropping this bomb on me that it did exist and it is excellent and we might never see it. Okay. So
well,
no.
I need to say this before you I need to say this before you do, because this is going to make it even worse. So there was a big stink about it. I'm sure most people have heard about this. Obviously, you living in a cave have not. So they agreed to shop it around to other distribution companies to see if they would release it. But every single one all the talk fell through, and every single one of them said that they really felt like Warner Brothers was not shopping it in good faith, that they were asking ridiculous amounts of money and so forth to do it. They were not seriously trying to shop it to somebody else to release. They were just going through the motions to try to satiate the masses who threw a fit about it.
That's some dirty pool. That just shouldn't. Like,
well, it's what happens when you get a CEO that doesn't give a crap about movies at all. It's all about money. And like that, let alone art. He doesn't care about that. And I get it. It's a business.
But, yeah, you always have to have those people. See, I mean, so, okay, let me circle back around to what I was going to say before. Just to clarify my position, ladies and gentlemen, I love cartoons. I love animation. I went to school and got a 100% useless degree in animation. But I have the piece of paper that says, that I'm like certified and qualified to make cartoons. I don't, but that's a whole nother thing. But to hear that this movie existed and that, I mean, talk about, playing Hee Haw with the Fuck Around Gang. I mean, that's that's some fucking around right there.
David
But
Zaslav.
so the thing from my perspective is like you always have to have those people. The bean counters are a necessary evil. We've seen what happens when a bloated budget goes out of control. I mean, the guy who created the Deer Hunter was given carte blanche to do whatever he wanted to make a movie after the Deer Hunter came out. They literally, you know, gave him a blank check to do whatever. And he did crazy shit like he would have he would look at a shot and see that buildings didn't look right next to each other. So he would have one building demolished and then rebuilt, you know, several feet down the line. There was one scene where it was supposed to take place in an empty dirt field, but he decided that he wanted it to be a grassy field. So he, without consulting anybody, used the company's money to build an irrigation system into the field so that there'd be irrigation to water the grass and have a green grassy field there instead. So an artist will just, you know, the artist is only concerned about the art. The bean counters are only concerned about the bean counting. And so but they both have to do their job adequately well for one, there to be a studio left to release the goddamn thing, and then for it to be good enough that people are actually going to want to go see it.
Yeah, totally get that. Like I say, the third thing I say they need that they need the bean counters and everybody need to keep track of is the audience. You know, what will the audience, if there is an audience for it? And it's been like they test movies and it tested really well, which is for Warner or for a Looney Tunes movie. It's been a while since that's happened.
Right.
And I mean, like all those people, all the effort they put into it, you know, craftsmen, and then it'll never see the light of day just so they can get a tax write-off.
It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I know what it takes.
Yeah.
Like the hours and the toil and the, you know, the keyframers and the in-betweeners and the ink and paint people. I mean, it's all digital now, so it's more streamlined, but it's still that process of putting the stylus to the screen and drawing it out and then, you know, and getting the in-betweens correct and making it look right. And just like, even to like, it's heartbreaking to even have animators animate an entire scene and have a scene cut out, but the whole movie is gone.
Yeah. Now
The entire movie is gone.
The movie is it's a live action / animation combo, like they've done with most of the other.
Like Looney Tunes back in action. Yeah.
Yeah. Except good this time. That being said, I actually enjoyed Looney Tunes back in action. I acknowledge it was not the best film that it could have been.
And it feels like that high watermark of Who Framed Roger Rabbit has always been, they've always been trying to go back and hit that mark, and it just you know, it's like everything falls short of that. Kind of like it feels like every spy movie since Mission Impossible 1 has tried to be Mission Impossible 1 in some way, usually with the spy who's been disavowed needs to clear their name, and it doesn't matter what collateral damage they create in their wake. Once they've cleared their name with the agency, they're good. You know, that plot line's been done to death. And I remember it from Mission Impossible 1. So it feels like everybody's been trying to be that movie, and same thing for live action animation hybrid. It feels like, you know, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the high watermark, and nobody's been able to hit it since.
kind of feel like that's a weird analogy to put Mission Impossible 1 as a high watermark, but I get what you're saying. I enjoyed it.
There's been they had a long way to fall, and they've fallen most of the way at this point. I was going to talk about the latest Mission Impossible movie, but we don't have time for it in this episode. We'll have to.
I have not seen it yet. I am waiting.
Yeah.
This, I don't want to get off on this rant because you have other stuff you want to talk about, but just the really annoying trend of Hollywood being like, let's break up one movie into 2 or 3. And I'm waiting for the next one to come out so I can watch
because that movie did not need to be 2 movies. What they did was they had one script and they padded the shit out of the first movie, and I assume padded the shit out of the second one too, to get 2 movies out of that material.
I have yet to see a movie that has been split like that needed to be split like that. I cannot think of anything offhand. Like, the movies that come to mind would be like, The Hobbit, which is no. Okay, I take that back. I just did think of Dune, the new Dune. Dennis, I can't pronounce his last name. I'm a white guy. I'll butcher it. I don't want to do it, but
we'll put it on screen or something.
Yeah, his new adaptation of Dune really did feel like it needed to be a 2-parter. A little annoyed about that because when the first movie came out, they didn't advertise it as a 2-parter. So that was a nice little bomb to drop. And, you go to sit to watch the movie, and the first thing you see is Dune Part 1. What? I thought I was seeing the movie, not the first half. But like right. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, The Hobbit,
Hunger Games.
Yeah, Hunger Games. All of those. None of those needed to be 2 movies. And especially considering, like, with the Hunger Games, that one I felt was egregiously bad because they made it into 2 movies and still managed to cut stuff out from the book that they could have left in if they were going to have that extra runtime.
I feel like the last Harry Potter book was incredibly dense and probably did need to be 2 movies, ?
Well, I'll say this. If that one needed it, then they should have done book 5 as a 2-parter. But favorite book in the series, I hate with her transphobia giving credit to J.K. Rowling anymore. But favorite book in the series, least favorite movie in the series. And a lot of that had to do with the book 5, Order of the Phoenix, was the longest book in the series. And Order of the Phoenix movie actually has the shortest runtime of any of the movies. They cut out over half the book. And I really felt like it was important stuff. Especially like Hunger Games was kind of that way. Things that were very important in the last book, they cut out of the first book, so they had no real way to explain it. So they had to twist and turn things and kind of exposit at the last minute to make sense of stuff in the last book. Well, if you would have left that in the first one. That being said, I actually enjoyed the very first movie. I thought that was pretty good. And I actually think it's a fairly decent adaptation, too. But I still feel like they cut stuff they shouldn't have.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we get through 4 subjects we talk too much.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is that with the rest of the time that we have remaining, I do want to get through. I could cut these out and leave them for another episode, but I don't really want to. We can always come back and expound upon them. Let's see here. So we've got 50 minutes and 1, 2, 3 topics left. So I'm going to try and hold us to, we're going to do a speed round And by speed round, I mean I'm going to watch the clock and try and keep us to 10 minutes per topic, which is not normally what you see in a speed round. Um,
No.
then again, neither one of us are too speedy these days. We are men of a certain age.
Old. That's the word.
Hey, I mean, I prefer men of a certain age because I have gray in my beard. I'm not rocking the Santa Claus facial hair. Let's take a look at the next topic. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up here. I really wish I had the epic movie trailer voice guy for this, because this topic is balls, space balls. Mel Brooks did the movie Spaceballs, and there was a joke in there that they were going to do a sequel, Spaceballs 2: The Search for Even More Money. And so now it looks like they're actually making a Spaceballs sequel with Josh Gad, which I think is, I like Josh Gad because someday, it probably in the near future, he's gonna be the top line cast in my biopic once I'm famous from doing this shit right here, or something else equally as worthwhile. I'm gonna be famous, and Josh Gad is gonna be me in my biopic. So I got nothing bad to say about the guy, but you actually brought this story to my attention, and when you did, you mentioned that the only way Mel Brooks is going to be involved at all is producing.
Yeah, he's not writing, he's not directing. And so I have mixed feelings about this. Like, I'm a big fan of the original Spaceballs. It's one of my favorite Mel Brooks films. I don't know, I'd say it was my favorite, but it's definitely up there. With him not writing, him not directing, so only involved by producing, somebody else is writing the material. So, like, I the fact that he's not writing, he's not directing, most of the cast is no longer available.
That's a nice way of saying Joan Rivers died.
Well, Joan Rivers died. John Candy passed. Rick Moranis has basically retired from acting. I haven't heard anything about them getting him coming back in. I mean, he did that Mint Mobile commercial, but I think that was more just as a favor than any desire to actually get back into acting.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, from what I had heard, Josh Gad is supposed to be playing Barf, John Candy's part. Not.
I mean, I just instinctively said yeah there. I haven't, ladies and gentlemen. What I do is I do the extensive research step of what I call one quick Google search. I bring up a blog post, read the headline, maybe, definitely do not read the article. So just so that I have something to put over here.
That way.
So I did not know for a fact that he was going to be Barf, but I assumed he was going to be Barf.
Well, from what I understand, they haven't. It was implied. They haven't officially said he's going to be Barf. I really hate it for the most part when you recast an actor, especially for an iconic role. I mean, to me, that's like,
because they're always going to be compared to that actor.
Yeah. And like, if you're going to recast him younger, then that means you have to recast everybody. So, and this is supposed to be a sequel, not a reboot.
Not a prequel.
Yeah. Not a prequel or anything. So let's just say that Hollywood doesn't have a good history of coming up with quality films when they've had to recast the entire cast. They have a hard enough time coming up with a quality film when they recast parts of the cast.
Right. So, talking about casting, if they can't get Rick Moranis, maybe they'll do what they did with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV series, and get Peter Scolari. And so Peter Scolari will just basically have a career as the Rick Moranis we have at home.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love Josh Gad as an actor. I think he's pretty funny, and I've enjoyed stuff he's in. And maybe I am just being too snobbish with it, but I don't have high hopes for this. So,
Because of Josh Gad?
No, because that Mel Brooks isn't writing or directing, that he's only producing.
Okay.
And
I just wanted to clarify that because you kind of bookended those two statements.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do it that way. No, my initial statement, the fact that, Mel Brooks is only interacting with this as a producer and that at least half the cast is not available. So to me, it just feels wrong to do a sequel with the same, let me rephrase that, the sequel with the same characters. Now set this in the future, several years on down the line, and Josh Gad is playing Barf's son or nephew. I'm cool with that. But for him to play Barf feels wrong to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
So I mean, maybe I.
And so, but there's another problem with this aside from casting, and that is that Hollywood is afraid to release anything original for like the past 10, 15 years at this point. All we've been getting is reboots of things, and this feels like more of the same. And so,
reboots and legacy sequels.
And this the concern is that this could definitely fall into that category, or one of those categories. And the thing I want to say, and I realize this might be a bit of a bomb drop and probably take us over the 10-minute mark on this topic, but in revisiting Spaceballs, I don't find it that great of a movie. Now, let me say, I saw it as a kid originally, and it was very good. The whole, like a lot of the humor was very hammy, but the thing was they relied a lot on fourth wall breaks. The fourth wall break was basically the running gag in the movie. And fourth wall breaks as a child freaked me the hell out because you get sucked into the fact that the idea that this universe exists and these people are who they say they are, and they're not actors, there's not a camera in the room, and then all of a sudden they turn and look at the camera or say something as the actors and not as the characters, or in a lightsaber battle they end up slashing the director in half, and then Dark Helmet says he did it.
Was the director supposed to be the director, or was it supposed to be?
It was somebody on a dolly crane. I
thought it was supposed to be a camera operator, but
it's not important to the story, man.
It's very important. Okay, the details matter.
So, not that detail, not this time. Nice try.
I don't know. It just aligns really well with the fourth wall breaking. Really aligns well with my sense of humor. I like the whole thing about the self-referential stuff.
Okay,
I mean,
I can respect that, but Lindsay Ellis, who is an excellent film reviewer, Adam Conover, that's my first recommendation. This is your required watching before you come back for the next episode, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Conover and Lindsay Ellis. So Lindsay Ellis, she does these excellent takes on these movies, and she was talking about the brilliance of Mel Brooks and how, like, he would go from joke to joke to joke, but they were paced well enough that a joke would be said, it would sit there for like a split second, long enough for you to get it if it was going to land with you, or if not, there was another joke coming right down the line. So, you didn't have to find every joke funny. You just, people would find something like Blazing Saddles funny, but it would be, but you could have two people watch that movie and like completely different jokes, but there were so many that it worked. Spaceballs, I feel like, leaned too heavily on that one joke. And the thing about a fourth wall break is that it works the first time. The first time it happens, you're like, oh my God. But I feel like that kind of writing for Spaceballs kind of flies in the face of what he had done in other films, where you had these rapid fire different jokes that were all over the place. But then you keep having these same sort of almost callbacks to the same joke over and over again with the fourth wall breaks.
I'm sitting there trying to think, but I only really remember one actual fourth wall break that that comes to mind, and that's the whole Spaceballs, the
movie.
VHS.
Yeah.
This is now in the movie. Well, what about then? Well, that was then. This is now.
Uh-huh.
That's the only.
And then it being queued up right to the same spot, and he's looking back and forth between the monitor and the screen. He's like, "What the hell am I watching?" Yeah.
That's the only real fourth wall break I remember. That now there's a lot of meta humor in the, like the jokes about the merchandising,
maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not directly the fourth wall break, but I mean, but when you have that meta humor and it's hit so hard, where there's like a whole scene that's like the instant VHS tapes, that was a whole scene in the movie. Merchandising, that's a whole scene in the movie. So like I feel like it wasn't the same sort of touch and go, and but in my mind I put together the meta humor and the actual fourth wall breaks in the same category. And so even though there might have not been any other direct references to fourth wall breaking, meta humor in and of itself kind of is fourth wall breaking. Not directly, like looking directly at the camera, but still.
Well, one thing is with Spaceballs, it was a little bit different than his previous films, because when he did parody films, he was doing parodies of specific genres. With Spaceballs, he went, while it was a genre parody, he also went a little more specific movie parody.
Right.
He's making direct references to the way they do Planet of the Apes, Star Wars, the brilliant space diner scene of Aliens, which I saw Spaceballs before I ever saw Alien, so I never quite got that joke until much later when it was realized that, oh, that was actually John Hurt. Thus the joke of, oh no, not again. And then I have to tell this story because it's important. There's a joke in the movie when he talks about going ludicrous speed, and the Dark Helmet turns to his commander and says, "What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Are you chicken Colonel Sanders KFC chicken. That's the joke. I had probably seen the movie close to 7 or 8 times before I ever caught that joke. I had worked for KFC at least with having watched that movie 4 times, 4 of those viewings, having had worked for KFC before it finally registered to me. Chicken Sanders. I'm proudly ashamed of that one.
As well you should be. Let's move on to the next topic.
Okay. But yeah, mixed feelings about it. It could be a good thing. It could be not. I have my hesitancy, but okay.
Duly noted. Next topic. And this is just something that this has just been my observation. I want to get your take on it. Are studios putting less money into advertising movies to American audiences, or is it just less effective? Now, what I mean by this is I am someone who doesn't watch terrestrial broadcast television anymore. Anything that I watch for entertainment is either a streaming service or YouTube, and then on YouTube I pay extra money to not be advertised to. So in a way, I guess I've kind of insulated myself from the process. But I feel like, and again, I'm just a sanity check here. I'm going to see if everybody else has the same experience I do. I just feel like movie studios aren't putting the same money into advertising movies as they used to. Or is it just not reaching me anymore? And if it is that they really are putting less money into advertising, I want to remind everybody what Mr. Wrigley of the Wrigley Gum Company said, and that is that if you stop spending money on advertising in order to save money, that's like if you stop eating in order to lose weight.
Effective in the short term, but long term, bad idea.
Yeah, that's the implication.
Because I was like, well, actually, fasting does help you lose weight, but it's not something you want to keep on this service. So,
yeah,
you're kind of asking the wrong person about this question, because I have a love-hate relationship with advertising. I'm some like, I don't know how to put this. I'm like, I haven't done it professionally, but I'm looking into becoming a professional editor. I love the power of editing. I've seen how it can be both abused and used to great effect. So I have found that I don't know how I would say modern. This goes back easily a decade or more. I generally tend to avoid advertising for movies I want to see after I've seen an initial trailer. Once I see that initial trailer and I know it's something I want to see, I actively go out of my way to avoid watching any more advertising for it, because I have found, and who knows, maybe it's changed in the last couple of years. I can't honestly say, but back when I first made this decision, I found that more and more of a movie would get spoiled by further trailers, that it just made it kind of not like there was no big surprises in movies anymore, because, hey, I saw that scene in the trailer. That gave too much away. Or, I have family that would love to watch little short clips, which is like an entire scene out of the movie, would drive me nuts. I'm like, I don't need to see this scene, because depending on where it is in the movie, it could cause things to go completely, give serious things away. And then like there's the one that you always talk about, I believe it was Snake Eyes, the Gary Sinise and
Nicolas Cage
movie, where they literally show the ending in the trailers. And I've seen
Mhm.
that in several other movies where I've watched the trailer and then watched the movie and found that, hey, that's the ending scene. Why are you? And I realize as an editor, they're giving a lot of this footage without any context of where it's going to wind up as a in the final movie.
Right.
So they
So
just got
that's something I was going to
cool.
hit on. I remember my sister went on a date one time. Her and her boyfriend were going to go see Annapolis. Yeah, he picked the movie. And so in order for her to familiarize herself with it, she went online and looked up the trailer. And then she came back after a date and she's like, that movie was nothing like the trailer. It was a movie all about kickboxing. And in the trailer, they showed a ship blowing up. There was no ship that blew up in that movie.
Yeah, that's another reason why I have a love-hate relationship with trailers, because like I like to watch a trailer to see if it catches my interest. But there's been many a time where I've watched a trailer, and yeah, there's stuff that they get that wind up, footage that they put in the trailer because hey, that looked like a really cool shot. But then when they make their final edit of the movie, that's nowhere to be seen. They decided to cut that part of the storyline out for whatever reason. And then there's I cannot think of the user, but there's a whole series online of trailers that have been recut that you can really change the tone of what a movie is supposed to be, what you think the movie's
Right.
about, based
Mhm.
on just a few changes of how you cut the movie and addition of some
Right.
outside music or so forth.
Like the first one of those that I remember was The Shining, where they made The Shining into like a heartwarming family movie.
Yeah, it was a dramedy about a boy and his a curmudgeon adoptive type thing, which honestly I've kind of seen a movie that was that plot. But and yeah, I mean all it took was recutting some of the images, a voiceover, and some Peter Gabriel Salisbury Hill, and it totally changed the tone of it.
And
There's another really good one that I've seen that is the movie Elf with Will Ferrell,
mhm.
recut as a suspense thriller. And if you take some of the scenes he does in that movie of him acting like a child, it can be pretty damn creepy if you cut it with the right other scenes, and put a little suspenseful
can
music
imagine.
in there, and
Mhm.
a title card.
Some awkward reactions from people.
Yeah, and it can get. I've seen, like, I have a whole playlist on my YouTube channel. Well, not on my channel, but I mean, where I've saved a playlist for myself of a bunch of really good trailers I've seen where people could cut it and
Mhm.
change the tone. That's actually what got me interested in editing in the first place, was what they did with that the Shining trailer, to see
Mhm.
how much they could change what the movie was about with just a little bit of fancy editing. And then the other part of that is there was another Nick Cage film called Lord of War that when the commercials came out, it looked like it was a dark comedy, and I like dark comedies. My family likes dark comedies. So I took my mom to go see that movie thinking it was going to be a dark comedy about a arms dealer. It was a very serious drama. They just nitpicked all the couple of funny lines and so forth in that movie and put them together to make it look like it was a dark comedy. I mean, it turned out okay. She enjoyed the movie anyways. But I mean, just a lot of chagrin when you're expecting to taking them to something that is completely not. So
Right.
whether or not
The Rick and Morty creator, what's his name?
was it Justin Roiland or
Yeah, Justin Roiland. He said that movies are something where you can't see it until you've already paid for it. And so there's no quality control. And he said that if other industries worked like that, then every other can of tuna fish would have somebody's finger in it. And that's kind of the what we get with movies is that every other can of tuna fish has a finger in it. So
Actually, it's more like 1 can out of 5 doesn't have a finger in it.
right, yeah. So the thing is, like, I saw a special a long time ago. I don't remember where I saw it or whatever, but it was about a guy who was a professional trailer editor, and he said, we start working on the trailers before these movies go into even rough cut editing. They're and so we basically have to guess at what is in and isn't in the movie in the final version.
They do have usually they have a rough script to go by to kind of have an idea. But yeah, they'll start working on it sometimes even before it's finished filming. So,
jeez,
yeah,
so my sister's complaint about the Annapolis trailer of there was a ship that blew up, and there was no ship that blew up in the movie. I'm surprised that they get it right as often as they do under circumstances like those.
Yeah, I mean it's why I'm interested in editing. I'm not really interested in becoming a trailer editor because I don't think I'd have the patience to deal with that.
You would not. I know, knowing you as well as I do, I would say you do not.
I'm too much of a completionist about stories.
Right.
I mean,
to touch on a couple things before we move on to our final topic. One thing that you said about avoiding trailers, just to let the audience know, one of my other great loves is video games. And so we're at the point in human history now where they're actually releasing trailers for the next Grand Theft Auto. And so it's gotten to the point where Rockstar will announce when new trailers are going to drop. And there are people who do frame by frame analyses of these to try and get whatever details they can. That's whatever. But
I have
that's
to be real careful on YouTube when there's a new movie coming out that comes out between the time it comes out that Friday and between I get a chance to go see it. I have to be really careful on YouTube because all kinds of spoiler videos pop up. And I'm like, even when the trailers drop, you get all kinds of Easter egg, videos. We go through it frame by frame to tell you what you miss and what you don't see, or what you do see in the trailer. It's just like, dude, doesn't anybody actually enjoy just sitting back and watching a movie? Like you get a rough idea of what it's about, a few images to really say, okay, that looks interesting. Now let's wait and see the story and see if I'm, if it was worth the wait.
right.
Instead of,
And so one more thing about trailers. What do you think about? I mean, and this could just be happenstance, with what we've been talking about trailer editors and what they have to deal with and what they have to work with. What do you think about trailers where, like, one of the actors from the movie Airplane, he went and saw a movie with his friends that had an airplane trailer before it, and his friends wound up saying, "That's all the jokes in the movie, right? They put all the jokes from the entire movie in the trailer." He's like, "Oh no, that's not all of them. That's not even close." But there are trailers out there where you like, and I feel like I'm getting good at spotting these now, because it's been happening for so long. But there are some trailers where, like, all the funny parts of the movie are in the trailer.
Yeah. Always comes to mind is a movie from the 90s. It's called Stay Tuned with John Ritter. And we don't really have time to go into it, but let's just say if you have any desire to see that movie, watch the trailer. You've seen all you need to see, because the rest of it is crap. It literally takes all the best funny parts, puts them into the trailer, and then when you watch the movie, it's those parts strung out with a bunch of filler in between. Which is sad, because John Ritter was such a great actor. Really good comedian. So
Yeah.
It's one of those, movies where you kind of feel bad for the actor, though that's part of their legacy, because I do believe that was one of the last films he actually made. He was doing a lot of television still, but I think that was actually one of the last films he made. So that kind of goes down on the record.
It's kind of interesting that we've been talking about trailers, because that kind of dovetails nicely with the last topic, which is, and I have a definite opinion on this one. It's not so much a sanity check as it is I have a definite opinion I want to express. But topic 4, online movie critiques, help, harm, or neither. So what I mean by this is like online movie critiques, and when I say that, I mean, like anybody who calls themselves a movie critic, like Nostalgia Critic, I mean, there's a ton of people on YouTube that call themselves movie critics, and they all claim fair use. And fair use is defined as you take the part of a source material that you need to take in order to explain your point on a given subject. You obviously can't say, here's my review of Jurassic Park, and then you sit there and watch all of Jurassic Park and make comments on the side when you have a comment to make. That's called reaction content, and it does exist, but we're not here to address that topic right now. I'm talking about people who go under the guise.
Commentary?
Huh?
So wasn't that called DVD commentary?
Yeah, right.
Director.
Except for that's the director or the actors or whatever, not some schmuck on Twitch who, thinks he's found a legal loophole for showing you entire movies. But anyway, we're not discussing reaction content today. What I'm talking about is people who put themselves out as movie critics, but what you actually get is not so much a critique as more of a summation of the film. Because there have been times where you've asked me, hey, did you see that movie? And I'll be like, oh yeah, I saw that. And then I'll remember like 10 minutes later, oh no, I didn't see that movie. I saw clips from that movie in a YouTube video where somebody told me what the movie is in a thing that they called a movie critique or they called a movie review.
I'm going to say on your topic here, harm, help, or neither, you kind of forgot or both, because I think it can be both helpful and
you just broke my brain. Like what?
Yeah,
it can be both.
Yeah. So again, it boils down to, for me, because I watch a lot of videos like What Culture videos, where they're compilation videos, and I do watch a lot of like you described, where they kind of give you a basic rundown of the movie and they give some commentary, make some jokes, and so forth. I tend to avoid watching them before I've seen the movies they're talking about, because I hate spoilers. So if it's something that I'm interested in seeing, I don't want to watch it because it will be a spoiler. Even on the ones that I'll tell you, like that, I'm a big fan of Jeremy John's reviews. I don't always agree with them, but I enjoy watching his reviews. And he has spoiler-free reviews, and then he has separate spoiler talks when he wants to talk about specific incidents in the movie. I still avoid watching his things on any movie that really interests me in seeing until I've had a chance to watch it and form my own opinion. And then I like to go back, like 9 times out of 10, I'll see a movie, a big blockbuster movie. And one of the first things I do when I get home is I'll go onto YouTube and Google it to see what reviews and stuff are come out, especially, some of my favorites, to see if they've touched on it. See what they had to say. But that being said,
that is kind of fun after the fact.
Yeah, because I like to see what they thought about the movie after I've had a chance to make my mind. But that being said, especially with like what culture, I'm not a big horror movie fan, so I watch a lot of their what culture horror lists because I don't mind if I get spoilers. But because of that, I've actually found movies that, even with the spoilers, I'm like, well, that actually sounds interesting. I never would have watched it or found it on my own. Thanks to them, now I'm actually going to see the movie because I kind of want to see it play out on top of, even though I know how it's going to end, sometimes it's not the ending. Sometimes it really is the journey. And while they gave me the ending, they didn't really give me the journey. Now, some are, like you said, where they kind of do give you the journey because they go over each scene. Those I definitely wait to watch for movies that I have any intention of seeing. Wait until I've actually seen them. If I really am sure I don't want to see it, then I'll watch it because I'd love to see what.
Right.
I kind of get their jokes sometimes, and the ones I watch tend to mix. Well, they do a lot of jokes. They also mix a lot of real commentary. So I like to hear the commentary, even when I don't always necessarily find their jokes that funny. So I think it can be both harmful because it can, ruin things for you, helpful because it can help expose you to other, films that you normally wouldn't have given a shot, even with the spoilers, get you interested in seeing these. But it can also be harmful because of the spoilers, and it can turn you off from stuff. Like, well, why should I bother to watch it now? I pretty much know how the story goes.
Right.
So, I admit it. I'm weird. I am very much a cinephile, but like I can get really stubborn about certain things, and other things don't bug me. And I found throughout the years, stuff that used to bug me when I was in my 20s, I can sit back and watch a movie, where I can sit there like Fan Four Stick, the bad Fantastic Four movie. And I know this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I honestly don't think it's that bad of a movie. It is an absolutely horrible Fantastic Four movie. But if you can divorce yourself from all the history and the baggage that comes with Fantastic Four and just watch it as a movie, it's not great, but it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. To me, it was entertaining, which is really all a movie needs to do. It could have been better. It totally could have been better. But yeah.
My 2 cents on this echo some of the sentiments that you were saying. Like, so I've cut out a lot of the movie YouTubers that I used to watch. Lindsay Ellis is of course still on my list, and when it comes to her stuff, I watch her movie examinations about either movies that I don't intend to see but still want to hear her take on it, or movies that I have seen. And then others that I still watch are people like Elvis the Alien. I watch some bad movies. I watch some like I must be a masochist because I like to hurt myself. And now don't take that out of context. Please don't anybody take that clip out of context. I like to hurt myself by watching really terrible movies. And there are some terrible movies that Elvis the Alien watches that I don't I don't even watch. I don't want to watch. he did get to reviewing the Velocipaster before I got to see that. So that was great. And there was an interesting twist to that, and I kind of wish I had gone ahead and seen it so that I had gotten that twist. But still, I think that even though I did get a fair bit of the movie in that review, I think I will go ahead and see it. But there's a lot of other ones that are not so bad it's good, but so bad it's torturous. And I would rather hear Elvis the Alien tell me about him torturing himself rather than me torturing myself.
That's why I don't watch. I'm careful about who I watch on that. If it's a movie that I'm even remotely interested in watching.
Did you almost do the grandpa thing and say on the YouTubes?
No, I wasn't saying that.
I'm careful who I watch on the YouTubes. You got to watch out for them.
Well, I was going to say on the
Son of
reviews
bitches out there.
On the reviews, because if it's something I remotely want to watch, I have to, because I hate spoilers so much in general. Once if I've decided I don't really care if I see the movie and I get a spoiler and that changes my mind, I don't mind the spoiler so much. Now it's not always going to work. Honestly, when Saw came out, I was not interested in the slightest. Then I heard about the twist at the end, and I was like, okay, man, I kind of wish I had seen that.
Just so everybody knows what he's talking about, they actually twist a person in half at the end of the movie.
Yeah, not quite.
I've never seen any of the Saw movies. I don't know what the twist at the end is.
Well, like I said, I don't really do the horror very much, so mostly because so we don't get sidetracked too quickly, but mostly it's just because I feel like most modern horror isn't scary. They rely on gore and shock value to get you scared. Jump scares and gore.
They rely on jump scares. There's a horror project that I'm associated with. I'm not going to say too much about it at this point, but I talked to one of my producers about who we should get to direct, and I said I want somebody who understands that there's more to horror than just jump scares. How to build suspense and how to maintain that tension and not to try and release it with a jump scare or a fake jump scare followed by a real jump scare, but actually knows how to scare somebody.
Jump scares can be effective if used correctly. The problem is, I feel, is that most modern films rely too heavily on them.
When we went and saw the Power Rangers movie, they did the whole thing of hey, I've got explosives and I've got a detonator and I'm going to push the button and the music swells and push the button and nothing happens and the music fades out and they release the button and boom. It's that's the only way a jump scare can work now. It seems almost like you set somebody up for that, and then hopefully hopefully you give them that beat so that they relax a little bit, and then then
part of the problem is that it's been kind of overdone a bit too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So jump scares are it's a cheap gimmick. If we're gonna bring in an external director, it's gonna be somebody who understands how to scare somebody with things other than jump scares. So we have a little under 5 minutes left in the program. So everybody's required viewing until the next podcast is going to be Lindsay Ellis, Adam Conover, and Elvis the Alien. Do you have any required viewing for the audience?
I really like Patrick Willems. I've been getting into his stuff a lot lately. I kind of stumbled on one of his videos and I found it really interesting. And again, it's one of those ones where he kind of has a storyline building through a lot of his earlier videos that just I really didn't care for. But, I get it that you got to have some sort of hook. But when he'd actually get down to the video essay part where he would really talk about either an aspect of film or specific films, I found it really insightful and didn't always agree with some of his points. I remember he did a video on Video Critics.
2 minutes left.
Okay. I was just going to say was he did a video on video, and one of the things he specifically says is, "Don't watch CinemaSins." I love CinemaSins. I don't take them serious as critics. I take them as a comedy thing. It's right up there with honest trailers. You know, those are not serious critiques. They're comedy about pointing out some of the. I mean, there are maybe some legitimate points in there, but as a whole, no, I don't take it. But yeah, that's the only one I would say offhand. And then I guess it's kind of a niche one that I like. The series is called Lost in Translation, or no, Lost in the Adaptation, and he specifically focuses on comparing movies that were books that were made into movies. As to
45 seconds.
He doesn't talk about whether or not they're necessarily good, but whether or not they qualify as good adaptations of the book. So he may enjoy the movie, but it doesn't really adapt the book very well.
30 seconds left in the show.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
So with that, I'm going to say my goodbyes, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure, and we will be back with you as soon as possible. Say goodnight to all the nice people.
Good night to all the nice people.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you.